Hi there from Douglas, New Brunswick, Canada. Just wanted to reach out today. It's Wednesday, March 18th. Yeah, I had to look that up. Days are starting to run together, and they may do that in this situation that we find ourselves. And many of us are in the same situation. Here we are dealing with this virus, and we've been asked by the New Brunswick Chief Medical Officer to stay home. Anybody that can is being asked to stay home, work from home, be safe, limit contact. And so we're doing that here at our house, and some of you may be doing it as well. And so I just wanted to provide an encouraging word today, a word to support you, a word to remind you, a word to point you towards God and His Word. And so let me read for you this morning Psalm 91. Psalm 91, verses 1 and 2. And I would encourage you to read the whole psalm sometime today. But these first two verses, I believe, are powerful for us today. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. I pray these words will bless you today. Will you think about them with me for just a moment? The psalmist says that we can dwell in the shelter of the Most High, that we can rest in the shadow of the Almighty. What's this idea of shelter and shadow? What is the psalmist saying here? Well, think about a time in your life when you needed shelter. Can you think of that? I can. I can think of a time when I was hiking the Funday footpath with a couple of guys. And it had been a long day of hiking and a lot of rain, and then this nasty, nasty storm blew in. And we were cold, we were wet, and quite frankly, we were getting desperate. We couldn't get a fire going. We were worried. We were worried about hypothermia, things like that. And so we needed to get shelter. We needed to set up shelter. We needed to get into shelter. We needed to be safe. What about shadow? Can you think of a time in your life when you needed to get into the shadow? I can. Think of it. I know it's hard to think of when you live here in Canada right now, but we're all longing for those summer days, those days that are scorching hot. But sometimes it's too hot. And sometimes we get burned, and if we don't get into the shadows, it can have an adverse effect on our health. And so we look for that big tree, and we sit under it in the shade. Or we find that hammock that's strung up between two trees, and we nap in the shade. And it brings us relief and protection from the sun. So what's the psalmist talking about when he talks about shelter and shadow? He's talking about a God who welcomes us in and protects us, who covers us, who in moments like this, and moments of struggle, and moments of storm, is our shelter, is our shadow, is our refuge, and is our strength. And so I pray for you today that as you hear these words that the psalmist wrote, that you would indeed dwell in the shelter of the Most High, that you would indeed rest. We all need to rest. We need that peace of mind that comes with rest, that you will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. If you're listening to this and you have to be out and about, you can't stay home as is being recommended. You're essential. You need to work. You need to get things done. You're involved maybe even in the response to this situation. You're a healthcare worker. You're somebody that is helping by providing groceries and things like that. Some of us have to be out and about. Some of us can stay home, but trust in God. Follow the advice of public health. And be careful. You've heard it, and I hope you'll hear it again and again. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Keep distance. All those things. So be safe. Be wise. But trust in God. Know that He offers protection. Know that He is with you. May we all know that today, and may we find ways to remind ourselves of that in the days ahead as we shelter in place, as we shelter in, as we seek protection from this storm, as we kind of stay isolated to protect one another. But we need to find ways to connect So as we're apart, how can we be together? And maybe this is one way. We can use technology. We can reach out to those that need encouragement. We need to stay in God's Word. We need to be continually in prayer. We need to find ways to worship. All these things will help bring rest, help us find shelter. And so I want to encourage you to do those things. One way that we're going to encourage you today, a little bit later, is on our social media. We're going to share with you a song. And it is a song written from Psalm 91, verses 1 and 2. It's a beautiful song that I just stumbled upon as I was seeking to provide some encouragement for my soul yesterday. We're all a little bit stressed. We're all a bit anxious. We're all trying to make the right decisions in the right moment in a very changing climate. And yet I came across this song that I will share with you later today from this couple, and never heard of them before, never heard the song before. I believe they've wrote it maybe just for a time like this. So look out for that, and I pray you'll be blessed by that song, because worship music can still our soul and bring us rest and help us to trust. So God bless you today. May you find his rest as you dwell in the shelter of the Most High.